Kevin Gausman of the Toronto Blue Jays joins us now on MLB Network. Kevin, congratulations on becoming a finalist for this prestigious award. What does this recognition from the writers mean to you?
It's pretty cool. I mean, first off, obviously, my career has had its ups and downs, and this has always been something that, as a starting pitcher, this is the award that you want, right? To be mentioned in the same sentence as those two guys, super cool and very humbling. So yeah, every year you go into the season with that in mind, but also just try to stay healthy. And I felt like everything kind of came together this year pretty well for me.
Hey, Kevin, it's Tom Verducci. Unbelievable year, 20 quality starts. One thing that jumped out at me, better year this year than the year before, which was good, but you threw less strikes. And I think you're still a strike thrower, don't get me wrong, but the batting average went down. Tell me about the approach. What went right this year? Maybe you expanded the zone more in terms of throwing fewer strikes, getting better results.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing with me is trying to figure out what a team is trying to do. Everybody talks about the split, but the split is only as good as the fastball. And the more that I can command the fastball, the less likely I think teams can kind of eliminate the split. And so really, the way I look at this season is kind of a tale of two different seasons. I really pitched up in a lot earlier year. And then, as the season went on, I started kind of, I call it a kill shot, just kind of focusing on throwing fastballs down in the zone because I felt like guys started just laying off the split. And so, I started stealing strikes with that. And then, they're more inclined to chase the split after that. And so, it was something that we adjusted. And, Pete Walker is an unbelievable pitching coach. And, I relied on him to kind of bounce ideas off of. And it was, I felt like as the season went on, my command kind of wasn't as sharp as it was early in the season, but it kind of played to my strengths a little bit in certain spots.
Kevin, Sean Casey here. I was the hitting coach for the Yankees down the stretch there for the last half of the year, and I got to face you a couple times. And we would go over that split finger, and it's such a devastating pitch. It's a pitch that we knew you were going to throw. But, the thought process was try to get him up, but if you don't recognize it, it's such a nasty pitch, he's going to get you out anyhow. Can you talk about the evolution of your split finger? Because you just started throwing it a few years ago. How has it become your number one pitch?
Yeah, I mean, I've always thrown it. I think it's like anything. The more I've thrown it, the better it's gotten and the better feel I have for it. And so, I'm able to, I can throw a bad split for a called strike whenever I need to, but that's usually, the ones that end up getting hit a long ways. So I try not to throw too many of those. But yeah, it's a huge pitch for me. And, I think one thing that helps me is, most of the league is East and West, and I'm a North-South pitcher. And so, and obviously my biggest secondary pitch being a split where there's not many starters that throw a split, even more than 10%. And so, the fact that I throw mine and I don't know what the exact percentages are, but I throw it a lot. And so I think it's a pitch that guys just don't see very often. And if they do, it's usually from a reliever, and they're more inclined to not have to swing at it, maybe because of certain counts. And so I think all those things definitely helped me a little bit. And another thing, my split really took off when I started throwing it right on right, to right-handed hitters. I was always kind of scared to do that. It's a dangerous pitch to throw to righties, but, if you're confident in it, and especially if you can pitch inside on righties and throw that split kind of in that same plane, they have a hard time not swinging at it.
No, you threw it a lot in September with the 2.43 ERA down the stretch. I was wondering about the postseason stress for you guys coming down. You talk about stress innings, and you had some big starts in September for the Blue Jays coming into the postseason. Was there more pressure for you in those starts?
Yeah, but that's what you want. Listen, I've been on teams where the last month of the season didn't mean anything, and I'd much rather have every start you're going into, September, and it's a grind. When I was with the Giants in 21, I felt like we won 22 games in September, and the Dodgers won 21, and it literally came down to the last game of the season. So, we've been in that situation. Me personally, I've been in that situation before. Even 2016, last game of the season, we had to win or we went home, and ended up pitching great at Yankee Stadium, and got to pop some bottles, at Yankee Stadium, and that was cool. Lost, ironically to the Blue Jays on a walk-off home run, but Sean, like as a player, that's what you want. You want the pressure. It's tough and it kind of can keep you up at night, but you'd much rather have that than have the last month, month and a half where the games don't mean anything.
Well, like Sean said, you thrived under the pressure in September. ERA under 2.5. Kevin Gausman, a finalist for AL Cy Young. Thanks for joining us. Best of luck next week. We'll be talking to you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.